If Harden had had a big performance in Game 7, the number would have been a lot higher than what it's going to be this summer. He had a bag for 90% of this season, and then let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling amazing. I can't believe the Knicks are up 2-0 against the Boston Celtics. There are two things in life that I love the most. Number one is seeing a Knicks victory, especially in the playoffs and the stage as big as this. Number two is seeing a Boston Celtics loss. I think I can speak for everybody when I say we want to see the Celtics lose, but the job is not finished. But major shout out to the Knicks and Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges in the fourth quarter. Oh my goodness, I'm eternally grateful for them.
Today we're discussing 10 NBA free agents who fumbled the bag this season, Steph Curry's injury update, but we're going to start right where Joel started with his New York Knicks. Joel, your video popped up on my TikTok feed last night. Let's watch it together.
I was going to record earlier right after the game, but I got so excited that I threw up all over myself and I had to change real quick.
Run it back.
I threw up all over myself and I had to change real quick because that's how I'm feeling after the Knicks Game 2 victory.
As a friend, I have so many questions. Why did you throw up all over yourself, and why is that how you were feeling after a win? Why are you throwing up after a win? Why did that happen?
I had a fight or flight reaction, as my girlfriend described to me after she researched what had happened. Because the story behind what had happened is that I had a long day yesterday. I woke up at 6 in the morning and I did a lot of things, did a lot of recordings, went out for a walk, got 10,000 steps. I was very drained. And as I'm watching the Knicks and Celtics game, I'm watching the first to the third quarter, and heading into the fourth quarter, we're down 20 points. And I go to my bedroom, I lay down, and I'll say, I got to take at least a quick nap to rejuvenate a little bit, because if not, I'm not going to be able to record. So I take a nap, and I just ate some chicken with the white sauce and the rice. So I ate that food. I wake up from my nap, 10 seconds left in the game. And I stand up and I look at the score. I look at the time and I say, oh my God, the Knicks are up. And my girlfriend says, yeah, they came back. And I was a little bit furious because I was, you should have woken me up before this because I wanted to have more time to watch the game. But no, I woke up with 10 seconds left. So I went from taking a nap with the stomach stuffed of halal Mediterranean food, and I woke up with the Knicks winning the game and Mikal Bridges having a game-winning block. And I woke up so suddenly. I was excited. I was jumping in the air, and then I just threw up.
With that in mind, you definitely cut a promo. Let's listen to the rest of this.
I believe now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not believing in this team earlier. I wish I would have picked them. I wish I would have believed in them all year long. I wish I would have believed in Leon Rose's vision, because this is what he envisioned. 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, getting slandered all year long. He robbed the ball away from Jaylen Brown. He stole it from him like a thief. And in game 2, he blocked Jason Tatum's shot to lead the Knicks to victory on that defensive possession. I'll never doubt the vision ever again. And the way I'm feeling is I got the Knicks all the way going to the NBA Finals, because at some point the evidence is undeniable. When a team shows you who they are, the heart, the passion, winning every single game on the road in the playoffs, going back to the Detroit series. They have converted me into a believer like a Jehovah's Witness knocked on my front door. I believe, and I'm going with the Knicks to the NBA Finals. And I'm sorry, I would have had this video out earlier. You could check the closeout for yourself, but that'd be disgusting.
Joel, as I told you off air, bro, I was sitting with my girl last night. You had me jump off the couch. I was so happy for you. I was so happy for your Knicks. All the cat slander I had to deal with on this podcast, all the Mikal Bridges slander I've had to listen to. I was just so happy that you got to enjoy this team actually reach their potential. But what do we always talk about? It's not the fact that you're wrong in anything you said in that promo you cut. It's the fact that you always have to go one step farther than the truth. If you actually threw up all over yourself in game 2, which I believe you did after your story, you're going to shit yourself after game 3. Because what is the Knicks home playoff record?
The Knicks home playoff record is not good. And I'll tell you something. I shit myself after game 2 as well.
I believe it. I believe it. You're going to shit yourself again after game 3. They've lost 2 of 3 at home. That one win and that 1-2 home playoff record was a game they should not have won. It was game 1 against the Detroit Pistons. They should be 0-3 in the playoffs right now. The Celtics have shot 25 of 100 from 3. We've talked about that. But what happens when those threes start hitting? Joel, I know where your brain is at. If I was a Knicks fan, my brain would start going there too. But me, as a guy who doesn't have skin in the game, as a guy who is jealous of a lot of Western Conference teams right now, like you called me out for last week, I'm not thinking about the NBA Finals. I'm thinking about how I can support my friend when all of this joy is robbed from him in a Game 7 in Boston. I'm thinking about what he's going to say about Tom Thibodeau when the season is over. I'm thinking about him reverting on his newfound Jehovah Witness beliefs and thinking this team has a shot at getting Giannis Antetokounmpo in the offseason. Tell me why I should not be worried about you right now, Joel.
Because the Knicks are going to win this series. And not only is my heart in it, but my mind is in it. And I know the Celtics shot poorly from 3, but I feel like that takes away from what the Knicks have done all series long in these 2 games that have been so exceptionally great. Number 1, let's talk about the wing defense. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges being able to stifle Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. There is a reason why we got those 2 wings. There is a reason why Leon Rose constructed this roster. He built this roster to beat the Boston Celtics. And sometimes you don't have the talent of the other team on paper. I think back to the 2018 Rockets when they won 65 games with Chris Paul and James Harden. They built that roster to beat the Kevin Durant-led Warriors with Steph Curry, Draymond, Klay Thompson, and Andre Iguodala. And they took them to 7 games. And I think they would have won in 7 games had Chris Paul never got hurt in that series. So sometimes you don't have the talent, but you have the team properly built to beat the more talented team. And I think that's what the Knicks have going on right now. You can sell me on the fact that the Celtics should have won these last 2 games. They shot poorly. It only came down to a couple possessions. I get all that. But the Knicks defense has been amazing. The Celtics are the most isolation-heavy team in the playoffs right now. 15% of their offensive possessions are isolations. Their 3-point shots that they're generating are off switches and not off of catch and shoot, dribble, drive, penetration, kick out threes, drive and kick threes. They have not been doing that at a high level. And I don't think, although the Celtics have played poorly, I don't think the Knicks have played their best either. Game 1 was a much better game than game 2. But game 2, Jalen Brunson did not play well for the first 3 quarters. OG Anunoby scored in single digits. Mikal Bridges didn't wake up until the 4th quarter. Overall, we didn't get much of a contribution from our stars. Cat and Josh Hart played really well. Mitchell Robinson off the bench. And I feel like that's where I want to go to next. Mitchell Robinson, I feel like, is the X factor for this team. When he is on the floor and over 200 possessions in the playoffs, Mitchell Robinson has led the Knicks to the best defensive rating in the playoffs. He's holding opponents to 32% from the field when he guards them. He is holding opponents to shoot less than 13% difference from their normal regular season average. And for this series, he has a plus 32 plus minus. Second on the Knicks is Cat at a plus 6. Mitchell Robinson's impact on this team, fully healthy, being able to protect the rim, switch on the perimeter, rebound the ball, catch lobs, and do the dirty work that this team needs. I feel like this is what we needed, and this has turned our defense around, and we have an identity on that side of the ball. Now, I'm not going to say this series is over because it's not. The job is not finished, as Kobe Bryant once said. So I'm hoping that we at least split at home, go up 3-1, and then find a way to win one of the next 3 games in the series. But what I'm ready to tell you, Jack, is I'm prepared to get heartbroken. I'm going all in. I'm not looking back. It's what I should have done from the very beginning. It's what I should have done at the start of the regular season. It's what I should have done at the start of the NBA playoffs. I should have went all in on this team, but I'm going all in now, and I am prepared for whatever happens, even if it's a heartbreak.
I hear what you're saying. By the way, I'm glad you had your apology in your WWE promo that you cut, because I'm a person that had to sit here and listen back in March that this team was going to get bounced by the Detroit Pistons, that Cade Cunningham was going to go in there and bounce the Knicks in the first round. I had to listen to that, but I'm glad you apologize. I'm glad your friends are letting you back into this Knicks fandom because you deserve every second of it. I do have some interesting stats for you. The Knicks have won 5 games on the road. All of them have been under 3 points or less. They've won 5 playoff games in the road, 3 in Detroit, now 2 in Boston. All of them have been 3 points or less. You can look at that and nod at Jalen Brunson's clutch time performances. That has been a big part of it. But Boston's shot making is going to change. Second stat I have for you. They've led 12 of the total 100 minutes in this series. We've played 2 basketball games. Normally that's 96 minutes. We've played over 100 because of overtime in game 1. They've led 12 of those minutes. That tells you that tells me what you and I already know, that Boston is the better team. And I think game 3 is going to decide this series. If Boston goes in there and wins this series, I envision them winning this entire thing in 6 or 7 games, most likely 7. Your Mitchell Robinson point is true and something I cannot argue with. I watched his first game in person of this season. He returned this spring, late in the season against the Memphis Grizzlies. He was unplayable in that game. He looked unplayable. And last night, Brian Windhorst said something interesting on his podcast this morning. He's covering the series and was in the locker room. He said the Knicks locker room was unusually calm. But the one thing that they were celebrating was Mitchell Robinson. And it was because on that last play, Jason Tatum, the second to last play, had gotten a flat screen on him, and Mitchell Robinson was caught way too high up at half court and caught Mitchell Robinson flat-footed, and Tatum was able to dunk it. They ran the exact same play whenever Brunson hit those 2 free throws to go up by 1. Robinson knew it, and Windhorst asked the players, did you guys tell him not to do that? Did Coach Thibodeau tell him not to do that? And they're like, no, he just knew. Robinson, in the moment, knew the mistake he made and was able to flatten out and not get caught flat-footed up towards half court and get a lot deeper. Therefore, you were able to get the double, and Mikal Bridges was able to strip it. Mitchell Robinson deserves all the credit, but these threes that I'm seeing Boston miss are not contested not all of the time. They're not contested all of the time. I'm seeing some wide ass open threes that they're going to miss. And this will be a long series. I'm glad that you have your hopes up and everything, but Boston's still going to win this in 7 games. And I think game 3 decides it.
Oh, wow. I think it's very rich coming from you as somebody who tried to sell me on the Knicks all year long. And then the moment that I hop on the train and I say, I'm ready, I'm buying a ticket, let's go to the next stop, you are getting off at the stop.
I see the data. I see the data.
I can't believe this. I can't believe you turn your back on Karl Anthony Towns, who you told me would be great. And you were convincing me so much all year long to believe in him. Well, damn it, I'm here. Where are you?
I was there. And I have been there all season long. And my beliefs haven't changed. I believed in this team. I believe this team could make it a series. I never said they're going to beat the Boston Celtics. My beliefs haven't changed. I'm not jumping off of anything. I expected them to compete with Boston. I expected them to beat Detroit, something you did not expect. I'm not jumping off of anything. I'm just saying Boston is the better team. Huh?
I picked the Knicks against Detroit.
Okay, you did pick the Knicks, but I'm saying in our earlier conversations, you remember talking about Detroit having a chance.
Tough series. And look, that series was tough. It was tough for us to come out of that series. Every game was very close. What I'll say to your points about the data and the mysteries, listen, I do understand that. And if you take the Celtics to win the series still, I totally understand that. If you're telling me for the 100-plus minutes that the Knicks have only led for 12 minutes, that means that they've only been the better team for 10% of this series. That's basically what you're telling me. So the data does fall in line more with the Celtics. And last year, we saw the Knicks go up 2-0 in the second round against the Pacers, and they ended up losing. That was due to different circumstances. We got hurt, and I think that attributes it more to why we collapsed and we ended up losing the series in 7. I think these next 2 games are going to be the deciding factor. Boston can win the next 2 and go back to the TD Garden, and the series is tied 2-2 and win game 3 and be up 3-2, or we can try to win one of these next 2 and we can go up 3-1. And I don't think that, as much as you're talking about Boston and giving them the benefit of the doubt for them shooting poorly, the Knicks have not shot well either. They have shot poorly for both of these games. From 3, they have been just as bad as Boston. In game 1, they were terrible from 2-point land. So I think the Knicks also have a lot of room to play much better. And I think now with us being up 2-0, we have a major advantage. And I love the fact that Brian Windhorst, covering the team, went into the locker room and said the locker room was unusually calm because they understand that the job is not finished, far from over. Don't get excited. Don't get ahead of yourself. There's still 2 more games to win. And damn it, you're going to go out there and you're going to win those games.
Final thing on this series and this entire conversation, I thought I laughed hard about the video that in the promo that you cut. But then I go to the comments on Instagram and I see like the number one like comment was not somebody else's comment. It was like your reply. And one of the comments, it said, "How can I get this build?" And you responded, "Be handsome as fuck, period." And I literally lost it. And I'm like, I know Joel could not wait to fire that one off. But let's get into the other game that was Wednesday night. Thunder, Nuggets. Most of us probably fell asleep at halftime. You probably were recording about the Knicks-Celtics series. I don't care what anybody says about that 43-point loss on Wednesday. I would be shocked if Denver doesn't split at home, which means it would be a 2-2 series going back to Oklahoma City. I don't feel good about a lot of my predictions in the playoffs, but Denver in 7 against the Clippers is one that actually came true. And I'm not ready to jump off this bandwagon just because of a massive Game 2 loss in Oklahoma City. I watched this Thunder team be down by 29 points to a way less talented Memphis Grizzlies team in Game 3. And if Ja Morant doesn't get hurt in that game, it's a 2-1 series with a Game 4 in Memphis. Who knows if they would have had a 5-6 game series on their hands against a Memphis Grizzlies team that could not beat anybody good all year. I think Denver, having the advantage of Nikola Jokic, having that entire MVP narrative and how calm David Adelman has been in this situation, I still believe this is going to be a long series. Do you agree with that?
Somewhat. I had OKC winning in 6, so I think this will go pretty much to the lengths. I think what OKC kind of proved is that they have the highest ceiling of any team in the playoffs left. They were the best team in the regular season for a reason. They were tied number 1 in net rating with the Chicago Bulls. We're talking about a dynasty team. That's how good OKC is. And Game 2 is exactly how I expected a championship caliber team that I deem as the favorite to win the championship bounce back. They are the only team thus far, barring a Minnesota Game 2 win, that has came out and made a statement like this. Boston didn't finish the job. Cleveland is down 0-2. OKC is the one team that they lost Game 1, and it was a nail-biting game. You can argue if they don't foul with 11 seconds left on the clock with Nikola Jokic off the court, then they are up 2 games to 0 right now. They responded in a way that showed me that we are better than them. We are the best team in this series. SGA is worthy of MVP. He was extraordinary. He had 34 points and 8 assists, and he shot 11 for 13. There is no answer for someone like that. And with the amount of depth that OKC has, Nikola Jokic is going to be a tough ask for any team to guard, but the guard defenders that they have, the way they play the passing lanes defensively, Jamal Murray needs to be at his absolute best to win this series. And I think that OKC's guards are too good at defending that he won't be. And I don't trust their role players on a consistent basis to continue to be excellent for the entirety of this series, especially against the number 1 ranked defense in the league and one of the best defense that I've seen in my lifetime. So I think it's fair to have Denver going to lengths. They have the experience factor over OKC, definitely, but I think OKC is more talented. They proved why in game.
The reason why it sticks out to me that this is going 6 or 7 games, because there's a real possibility this will be the longest series that the Thunder have to play the entire playoffs. The Warriors or Timberwolves, I don't see either one of those teams competing for a long series with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Knicks, Celtics. If the Celtics come back and win in 6 games, they can win 4 straight. That's subject to change. But if they get bounced, I don't envision the Knicks taking the Thunder to a long series. Same with the Pacers or the Cavaliers. I think Denver is the team that has a legitimate shot to scare the Thunder. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think it's going to be a long series. Staying in the Western Conference, Steph Curry got a major injury update yesterday, and it was that he's going to miss at least the next 3 games of the Timberwolves Warriors playoff series. That means he has a chance to come back at Game 5, but most realistically, I think Game 6 would be their target because there's a 3-day break in between Game 5 and Game 6. He's the 3rd oldest rotation player remaining in the playoffs behind Al Horford and Mike Conley. Those soft tissue injuries or nothing to deal with. It's the first time he's had something soft tissue wise in 6 years. And Steve Kerr got asked about that. And he was like, the difference then is we had an all-time NBA roster. We don't have that now. So if he knows that and there's already doubt in that locker room, despite what happened in game one, they didn't take games 5 and 6 seriously against the Rockets. I don't think they're going to take 2, 3, and 4 seriously without Stephen Curry. So to me, this series is over. I see it ending in 5 games, whether Steph Curry is there or not in game 5. I've seen the effect of hamstrings on great players in the playoffs. That's not a thing that just goes away. It will be nagging for as long as they are alive in this series. The Timberwolves are not going to keep shooting like this either. How do you feel about the rest of this series?
I feel like it'd be a major disappointment if the Timberwolves didn't go up 3-1. Steph Curry might be out for a week to 2 weeks. And if he comes back from this injury, there is a big chance of re-aggravation. We saw in 2019 what happened to Kevin Durant when he came back prematurely from a calf injury. His was more severe than Steph's. It's unfortunate for the Warriors because I think this would have been a very tough series and the Warriors would have had a real chance to win this series with the way that Steph can maneuver around the defense and just catch fire at any point. But I think the Warriors defense poses a much bigger threat and challenge than the Lakers defense. They can run a zone much more efficiently. They have better perimeter defenders. They have a real rim protector in Draymond Green, who can play a small ball 5. Jimmy Butler playing in that zone as a free safety. I mean, those two on defense, it's an elite unit. So I feel for the Warriors in one breath because I think that this is possibly Steph Curry's best chance of making another deep playoff run, right? And he's been playing amazing in the playoffs so far. You want to continue to see him playing. But with the news that happened, the Timberwolves now have an opportunity to win these next couple of games and have a major advantage in this series. They lost game 1 with Steph Curry playing well when he played, but really Buddy Hield exploding in the second half. That cannot happen again if you're Minnesota. Minnesota cannot allow themselves to get beat by a team without Steph Curry. So I think this has put a lot of pressure on Minnesota to answer the call, answer the bell, and although they had a great first round series, there are still some question marks about the team. They have shot poorly from 3 over the last 2 games, historically poor. Julius Randle, he was great in the first series, but will he be great against Draymond Green? He might not have a good series. There are more question marks with this series than there were in the previous one, and Minnesota has to answer those question marks and come out ready to go in game 2.
For sure. Let's go back to the East. Cavs Pacers. It's another playoff prediction we talked about last week. You stood on all 10 for the Cavaliers, but Tyrese Haliburton has been him in this series. The clutch time heroics have been amazing and comparable to your Jalen Brunson as well. So I'm going to name a player, and you tell me if we should start a franchise with him or Tyrese Haliburton. First one up is Trae Young.
Tyrese Haliburton. He's more efficient, doesn't turn over the ball as much, and I think he's a better floor general than him. I'm going to go with Tyrese.
I haven't seen Trae bring his teammates to a competitive playoff level in 4 years. Next one, Cade Cunningham.
This is tough because I value Cade Cunningham. I value Cade Cunningham scoring a lot. I think he can be one of the premier scorers, and he's an excellent playmaker. He averaged almost 10 assists this past year, and I think he has the size to be a better defender than Tyrese as well. But I'm going to go with Tyrese. I value his efficiency so much in the low turnovers. I don't think people realize how historic of a mark he's at, the assist to turnover ratio. It is insane. It's over 5. It's close to 6 assists per turnover that he gets. So I think Tyrese, for that reason, I'm going to lean with him.
I'm taking Cade. He's a bigger, better version of Haliburton. I hear the turnover stuff, but I think the recency bias is starting to kick in a little bit for you. Ja Morant's the next one.
Oh, this is an easy one. We don't got to say too much. Haliburton has always led an elite level offense.
Don't have to say too much.
4 seasons. No, you don't. Oh, maybe I do. Maybe I need to explain myself as to why this decision is so easy for me to make. 3 of the first 4 seasons with Indiana, Tyrese Haliburton, his offense has been 7 points better with him on the courts. They have been one of the worst offenses with him off the courts. Last year, they had a historically great offense with him on at a 123.5 offensive rating. And John Morant, you look at his Grizzlies tenure, the half-court offense hasn't been good with him. And in the year that they utilized him the least in the offense actually became the best. So I'm going with Tyrese, an offensive uplifter. That is what he is.
You're right. It didn't take long. Tyrese for health reasons. Next one, Jalen Brunson.
I
Got
was
your
asked this
ass.
question
Got your ass.
2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was asked this question, and I picked Haliburton because I think he's a better playmaker than Brunson. But I think Brunson's sample size in the playoffs of being an elite scorer and raising his game to a different level, averaging 30 in the playoffs over the last 3 postseasons. I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson. I think that he is a good playmaker, not the playmaker to the level of Tyrese Haliburton, but his scoring jumps to elite levels in the playoffs that I cannot ignore. I think he's capable of taking over a game much better than Haliburton, so I'm going with Brunson.
I'm starting the franchise around the younger guy who has already won in a playoff series. Pretty simple for me, but I'm glad we could do that and celebrate Tyrese's greatness and the fact that Pacers may beat the Cavaliers. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling great. I'm actually going to win money if they win because after game 1, we got all the news of the injuries the Cavaliers were facing with Evan Mobley and Garland and to DeAndre Hunter. And then I went on FanDuel and checked the Vegas odds, and the Pacers were like plus 184 to win this series. So I jumped on it. I put $100 on it. Then game 2 happened and they won, and now the Pacers are favored in this series. So I was able to jump on that pretty early.
I'm glad because the odds were crazy before. I think it was like up in the 400s before the series. I looked at it. I'm not a betting man, but I was looking at it. I was like, God, I'd be taking that in a heartbeat because, I think the casual fans did not pay attention to them all year. I picked against them stupidly in the first round just because of Giannis's greatness. But one thing that I think is coming to fruition that we've talked about with the Cavaliers is the fatigue factor. You're starting to see it set in. And Donovan Mitchell is going to take a lot of flack for this, and I think it's unfairly. But this team has been on go mode since October. They have had 2 different 15-game win streaks. That takes a lot out of you playing that hard from October now to mid-May. So I think the fatigue factor, you're seeing it set in with the injuries and also with the play of the team as a whole. You want to talk about 5 NBA free agents who got a bag this season, and then from there we're going to talk about 5 NBA free agents who have fumbled the bag this season. These are all guys who are restricted or unrestricted guys this summer. I want to start on a positive note. Obviously, we can go a ton of different ways here, but guys who got a bag this season and will probably get paid this summer for it, who is the first name that comes to mind there?
It's Myles Turner. I think the skill set he brings at the 5 is rare for him to shoot that well, protect the rim somewhat. He's a Super Bowl valuable player for the Pacers, and he's played well in almost all of his recent playoff series, and he's been an X factor for them, and he's capable of having blow-up games where it makes the impact of like an all-star level player. And I think with center being a dire need across the league and his skill set being so rare, I think he's going to get paid in a major way. I think he stays with Indiana at the end of the day, but he's going to earn himself a big payday, and he is, you can argue, the best center available on the market.
Indiana's going to run into a real problem here, too. Obviously, there's not many shot blocking, floor spacing bigs on championship contenders. He has proven to be that. And they also have Benedict Mathurin and Aaron Nesmith, I believe, hitting free agency as well. And they're not going to be able to pay Nesmith, Mathurin, or Turner. They're going to have to make a decision there. I think the right decision is Turner. But for a ton of championship contenders, I think with the way Nesmith and Mathurin are playing, are going to get a bag as well. First 2 guys that come to mind to me whenever I think about this year's free agency is, what is Josh Giddey's number going to be? He was asking for an outrageous amount before he left OKC. It ultimately led to the trade, and obviously him getting played off the court in that Maverick series last year played into that as well. But Ty Jerome's also going to get a bag despite anything that happens in this series. I think Giddey's number is going to be well into the 9-figure mark. I'm interested to see what he gets, and I'm happy for Giddey because everyone wrote that trade off as the Thunder just fleecing the Bulls to get Alex Caruso without giving up 1 pick. But Josh Giddey and Ty Jerome are the 2 guys who come to mind, top of the list for me. Who's next for you?
Josh Giddey was a great pull. I tried to stick to players in the playoffs with their recent play that will get a bag, but I love the Josh Giddey pick. I actually wish I had that player on mine. I went with Julius Randle.
Love it.
He has an option this offseason, and many people wondered, what is he worth? He doesn't play well in the playoffs, and he just had a great playoff series against the Lakers, and we'll see if he has one against the Warriors. But depending on how well he plays, and based on how well he played in the first round, I think he now became a viable long-term piece for the Timberwolves and not somebody that they're just looking to move on from.
Yeah, and even someone else on that team, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, hits free agency this year too. And I think you've seen his depth and him coming off the bench, how huge that has been for Minnesota. Sticking with playoff teams, going off that note, Steven Adams is a big man that proved his worth in that double big lineup in that 7-game series with the Golden State Warriors. I think a lot of contenders are going to be calling him not only for his on-court play, but his vibe in the locker room, his leadership in the locker room, just having that veteran presence as a big. And with Houston, it's going to be interesting to see if they pay him or they can't afford to pay him, or they sign and trade him in some type of Durant or Giannis trade. I think Steven Adams, no matter what, will have a laundry list of people asking for his services.
That's a great name, too. I had Steven Adams on mine as well. So that's 3 players so far, Turner, Randle, and Steven Adams that I have. My fourth player is Dennis Schroeder. What he meant to the Pistons, his clutch ability in that series, in the first-round series, and to take pressure away from Cade Cunningham. I think the Pistons' number one priority is going to be to bring Dennis Schroeder back, especially with Jaden Ivey coming back. They would now have 3 guards that can handle playmaking responsibilities at any given time. I think that's a huge luxury to have. And Schroeder, who at one point lost out a lot of money with the Lakers because he turned the contract down, he has quietly bounced around the league, and I think he found a home in Detroit with the way he played this past year, and I think he's going to get a nice contract for him.
Love that. I think sticking with the playoff thing, I can let you cover the final one, which I think should be Russell Westbrook. We'll see if it is or not. Kyrie Irving is a name that I put on here, and it was really weird writing his name down, a guy who just tore his ACL, possibly getting a bag in free agency, but he was the only spokesperson on the Mavs who came out of the Luka deal looking better than how he originally went into it. He was the only voice and PR person who handled that with class, respect, and honestly perfect. His leadership, his numbers, everything went up after that Luka deal happened, and I think Nico will reward him for it. So I envision Kyrie getting a bag this summer as well.
Yeah, without a doubt, and they need to. I mean, they made an all-in move on Anthony Davis, and if they don't bring back Kyrie Irving, there's no chance that they're going to compete for anything at all. So that is a must for them to bring him back. He has all the leverage in that situation. My last name is not Russell Westbrook because he's older, and I think right now he's kind of at the point in his career where he's just going to get vet minimum contracts. Mm-hmm. But the player I had was Naz Reid, much like Myles Turner, a player who can space the floor. He's a impact big off the bench for Minnesota right now. Maybe he's looking for more of a starting role. I think he could start on 70% of NBA teams. So Naz Reid is somebody that I think made a lot of money. And I had 3 Timberwolves on here, Randle, Alexander-Walker, and Naz Reid. I think all of them are showing why they should get paid.
Absolutely. Naz Reid, I think any team would want to have him, just like any team would want to have Myles Turner. I envision Turner getting a bigger number than him, but Naz Reid, the number of people that are going to be after his services are going to be awesome. Final honorable mention for me, just because we didn't mention him, Quentin Grimes, what he did getting traded to the 76ers, that late season stuff. I think the 76ers are going to reward him for that. And if they can't, I think any team would be willing to have a blank check written for Quentin Grimes. All right, let's move into the opposite side of this. 5 NBA free agents who fumbled the bag this season. And obviously we may have 10 here because our 5 could be very, very different. My first one is one I'm going to have to explain a little bit. It's the guy who's on this thumbnail. It's James Harden. He overperformed in the regular season. I'm not going to sit here and argue with that, Joel. I'm not even going to argue that he's still going to make a ton of money this summer. But if Harden had a big performance in Game 7, if they were giving the Thunder a competitive series right now, and he was the reason why, I think the number would have been a lot higher than what it's going to be this summer. There would be multiple suitors this summer, which means leverage with the Clippers in negotiation. Harden may get a small bag, and it's not small to us. It's small comparatively to what he could have gotten, but it's going to be nothing compared like I said, if he was able to perform in Game 7 and rewrite his history about being a small game James, being a concert date James, is going to go 2 of 17 in the playoffs. I think that is the number one guy whenever I think about a guy who had a bag. He had a bag for 90% of this season, and then that series happened, and his leverage got pulled out from under him, and I envision him fumbling it.
That's my number one player. He had too bad of a closeout game for him to get a team to buy into giving him a long-term contract, giving him a lot of money. Because with the way he played, you have to pay him like one of the 2 top players on your team. And we have seen routinely that as the best player, he comes up short. And now as the second best player, he's come up short. I don't think James Harden is going to have much of a market out there for him. Maybe there's a potential chance that Houston jumps into the sweepstakes and says, you know what? We don't want Fred VanVleet. We want a reunion with Harden back. We want a real point guard in there to initiate offense. And I think that actually would be the perfect fit for a team like Houston.
Stop.
Hey, listen, I do think so. They have defensive personnel. They have Şengün. I'm not saying Harden is the prime piece they get, but what if you get Harden and you go trade for someone like Kevin Durant and you have Harden, KD, Şengün, and you go all the way to the championship?
That would make no sense. That would make no sense. What is their runway? Why would they sacrifice everything to go get James Harden and Kevin Durant?
You're not sacrificing everything to get Harden. You're going to go get Kevin Durant, but you'd still have Harden, Amen Thompson, Şengün, Jabari Smith Jr.
So they would just fuck up the timeline even worse.
Kevin Durant. I mean, you're adding 2 veterans and you still have a lot of young players.
I'd rather save that cap space for Giannis Antetokounmpo and, gathering up the assets for that. But hey, I'm glad you and I agree that Harden's the number one guy that comes to your mind, because he definitely was mine. A guy in the playoffs, another guy who's still in the playoffs, who's probably going to get some play time now, games 2 through 5, is Jonathan Kuminga. This has been the biggest mistake by the current front office of the Golden State Warriors. You knew Kerr was not a fan of Kuminga years ago. You knew that. So instead of trading him back in 2023 when he had value, you're possibly going to let him walk in free agency for nothing. Hopefully they can pull off some type of sign and trade to get what little remaining value he has, but that's going to be nothing compared to what it was back in 2022, 2023.
Yeah, I think Kuminga's an easy one. He's not even playing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Jalen Green. He already got paid, but I'm talking about fumbling the bag from the perspective of being on the team next year. I think he had to play well in the playoffs in order for the Rockets to say, you know what, we can continue to believe in him and the potential. The fact that he played so poorly, the fact that he's been so inconsistent, the fact that he's been pretty much a negative player for his first 4 or 5 years in his career, I think the Rockets are ready to say, we're done. Let's go get somebody that can be a consistent option, offensive option on this team and bring us some more life on that end. And I think that is the bag he fumbled, his long-term future and outlook in Houston.
That's 100% fair. My next one on here did not sniff the playoffs. He was involved in a midseason trade. He was traded from LA to New York. And whenever he went to Brooklyn, people thought D'Angelo Russell was going to get back into that fun Brooklyn bag and put up some even better numbers than he did his first stop in Brooklyn. Well, D'Lo somehow put up even worse numbers with the Nets than he did with the Lakers this season. He averaged 12 points a game at 39% from the field and 31% from 3. Yes, the Nets will probably bring him back because they have a cap floor they have to hit. But he's going to have no suitors, and he's going to have no bag compared to what it could have been if he was averaging in the mid-20s with the Nets.
D'Lo is the perfect name for this because he played awful with the Nets. I had him on my list too. The other name I had was Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. soon is eligible for an extension. He is looking to get paid, but the Grizzlies might be a little hesitant to give him the money that he's asking for, because he's not that efficient offensively. His defense has not been of the impact that it was when he won DPOY. And you're looking at Jaren Jackson Jr. and saying, can he be the second best player on my team?
You couldn't.
I don't know. So I think Jaren Jackson Jr., with the way he played against OKC, where he was getting guarded by Alex Caruso and Lou Dort, and he was getting locked down, You're like, oh, I mean, you're 7 foot. You should be dominating these guys. You should be playing with more physicality. He still can't rebound either. Like, what's going on? I think Jaren Jackson Jr. fumbled a big time extension because at one point he was on pace to be an All NBA player this year, and then he
still could make it. He still could make it.
I don't think he will. And if he makes it, it will be a major, major mistake.
I agree.
And I think if he makes it, the Grizzlies will be very upset because it means he is eligible for a super max contract. And I don't think you want to commit that much money to Jaren Jackson Jr.
Grizzlies just won't give it to him. And you know what's crazy? We start this podcast. I'm happy for you. I'm playing your reaction video. And then I kind of like virtually put my arm around you and be like, listen, I know you're got your hopes up, but how can I be there for you whenever Game 7 in Boston happens? How can I be there for you? But every time you've brought up Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, the Memphis Grizzlies, you've had a little bit of bass and growl in your voice whenever you're talking about them, like it's personal for you. And instead, I'm jumping off the couch. I'm happy for the Knicks. I'm telling you the truth about the Knicks. I've tried to get you excited about the Knicks, but it's not reciprocated. I'm not saying I disagree with everything you said. He got put in a seatbelt by Alex Caruso, and we'll talk about that in our TikTok filming a little bit later. But Jaren Jackson is not a top 5 fumbler. He doesn't belong in this list. He still had a career year points-wise. And yes, he still can't do all of those things. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year, but the team wasn't nearly as good, and the roster around him was not nearly as good. That's why I have 2 guys above Jaren Jackson Jr. Another net, Cam Thomas. We went into this season expecting 25, 26 to 30 points per game from him. Instead, injuries killed his season. He played only 25 games and averaged 24 points. That's a disappointment. Even though that's a career high for him, I don't think he's going to get the number that we expected him to get before this season. Second guy, Chris Middleton. He had a chance to play an even bigger role on the Wizards, and he still did not look close to his prime self. Whenever I think about Chris Middleton, I'm like, damn, he's got to be at least 38, 39, hell, even maybe 40. He's 34 years old, and his body's breaking down like this. If we're looking at the timeline of this generation of stars, they're still getting another contract at 34 years old. I don't envision Chris Middleton making anything above the vet minimum this summer. So Cam Thomas and Chris Middleton, I think they fumbled a little bit more dollars than Jaren Jackson Jr.
I can agree with your logic around your picks. I never thought Cam Thomas was a real winning player, so the Nets were even hesitant to pay him. It's not that Jaren Jackson's not a good player. It's the fact that had he, like when Wemby went down with injury, he was favored to win Defensive Player of the Year. Had he won that award, he would have been eligible for 5 years, $345 million. That is $69 million per year without winning DPOY, without possibly not being on an All-NBA team. That $69 million a year number goes down to like $50 million a year.
Joel.
And yes, $50 million is a lot of money. 50 million is a lot, but you're talking about a $19 million difference over the course of 5 years is $95 million. A player fumbling almost $100 million is a fumble.
If he would have did that, if he would have won Defensive Player of the Year, because of all the flaws that you just said, do you think he still deserved that $345 million? This is a front office that has already made that mistake with Desmond Bane. I'm not sure they give it to him.
That's a possibility. But if the Grizzlies want to continue to compete, they would have been backed into a corner. Give him that contract.
Compete in what? They didn't compete in anything this year. They know big changes are on the horizon. Jaren Jackson might be the guy who gets traded. Desmond Bane's the most likely one, but that contract is untradeable. People are looking at Jaren Jackson right now. And yes, that may not have been the truth if he went on to win Defensive Player of the Year. But one thing that you and I can agree on is the truth. They shouldn't have gave him $345 million even if he did make an All-NBA team or win.
100%. But you just said it yourself that Jaren Jackson Jr., he kind of cost himself with his level of play down the stretch. You know, he was the guy that you said they might trade. I mean, he went from being somebody who's having a career year, who you're saying, wow, the improvement that he's made, he might be the best player on this team. He might be the most impactful player on this team. To now, he's a trade piece. To now, you're thinking about not giving him that amount of money. You're not thinking about giving him a long-term extension. That is fumbling the bag.
While we're on this subject, Zach Kleiman, GM of the Grizzlies, I can't remember if we talked about this last week, but he had said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but we're not a veteran wing away from winning an NBA title. And a lot of people, probably you yourself and some people locally, were like, you know what? He's right. I think that every playoff team is a veteran wing away from winning a championship, because if these playoffs have taught me one thing, it's that you just have to be in it. You just have to be in it. And if shit breaks the right way, if the Grizzlies rewrite that Golden State play-in loss, they're playing the Houston Rockets. And if they had an OG Anunoby or a veteran wing with them, besides starting Scottie Pippen and Zach Edey, I think they would have had a chance to go to the second round. And in the second round, who knows what happens? This is a team that was 2 wins away from the conference finals back when they did have guys like Kyle Anderson and Tyus Jones and respectable veterans around Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bane. I'm not saying that they must trade Jaren or Desmond Bane. To me, it's not the right move. I think you properly build a roster around them and see what you have, and keeping these guys together since they all fit the same timeline. But instead, this general manager, this front office is, okay, we're going to blame the coach. We're going to fire him with 9 games left. I put the assistant coach directly next to him. The assistant coach, Tomas Isalo, had no prior interactions with any of these players, but because I picked him out, I'm going to go ahead and give him that seat since I won the bidding war over the Washington Wizards. Completely different situation than the Denver Nuggets, where David Adelman was there for 5 to 6 years. He was a voice. He was the assistant coach for Nikola Jokic, for Michael Porter Jr., for Jamal Murray. So whenever Michael Malone yelled at them, he put his arm around and be like, hey, keep your head up. You're not going to play tonight. This and this is going to happen. He had a relationship with the guys. At the Grizzlies, it started with firing the coach, blaming the coach, moving the guy over. After that, now they're blaming the players. And Jaren Jackson, we're talking about him fumbling a bag. This whole situation has been fumbled by the Grizzlies. It hasn't been anything that Jaren's done. The last 2 years, he has had career seasons. He has entered a stratosphere we did not think he would enter. And yes, he did not have a good year down the stretch, but I don't think he deserved $345 million anyways.
Absolutely. And I think the Grizzlies have to take a page of the Pacers playbook, where Kevin Pritchard, over the last 3 years, he traded for Tyrese Haliburton.
Yep.
He traded for Pascal Siakam. He traded for Aaron Nesmith. He traded for Obi Toppin. And they drafted Andrew Nembhard, Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin, Ben Shepherd, Isaiah Jackson, with already having McConnell and Myles Turner on the team. They never went into a full rebuild. The Pacers had Domas on the team with LeVert and with Malcolm Brogdon, with Turner on the team. And they were all right. TJ Warren, they were a middle of the pack team. They never went into a complete teardown. They were able to rebuild by trading for players that kind of were cost efficient. And that's how they've built a team that now might be headed to the conference finals for the second year in a row. So it's about making the right moves. And I do think the Grizzlies are an Aaron Nesmith, an OG Anunoby, a Mikal Bridges away from being a team that could win a playoff series. So Zach Kleiman has to do a better job at finding those moves and being aggressive.
For sure. You got any other guys? I'm glad we can come to an agreement on that. You got any other guys that fumbled a bag, or we cover them all?
The last one is just Kyle Kuzma. He's just bad. That's it.
Yeah.
But he's already getting paid, but he's a negative player. I think the reputation around him is at an all-time low. So he definitely fumbled.
Yeah, and I almost put him on here as well whenever I was going through it. I think he played 8 minutes in that final game of the Pacers-Bucks series. I think whenever you're traded for a guy like Chris Middleton, like, they expect you to be playable in a Game 5 against the Indiana Pacers, and he just has not been that. But we covered well more than 10 free agents in this year's upcoming class. There's a lot of stories, and we're going to be covering all summer. We wanted to find a little bit something evergreen, and I think we did, and we were able to talk and celebrate about Joel's Knicks. Joel, wishing you all the best of luck on Saturday afternoon in the Garden. By the way, I know before this series happened, you were thinking about going to the Pistons game, but you decided not to because you were waiting on the Boston series. I can't even imagine what those ticket prices look like. Is there any chance you're going to games 3 or 4?
No, I should have bought the tickets when I had the chance, but you never can predict the future. And back in the first round series, I was looking at the Boston tickets like, maybe I should go. And it was like $400 at the point. I was like, okay, 400. It's a little steep. I don't know if I want to pay that because 400 ends up being really 550, sometimes 600. And then last night I check, and the tickets to sit at the very top are like 900.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like I'm spending $1,000 minimum to sit at the very top of MSG.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. Well, at least you can hopefully watch with your friends and stuff this weekend. By the way, that should be a Saturday night, like ABC or TNT game. That should not be at 2:30 in the afternoon. But I know in the Garden, it does not matter. It's my bucket list. I can't imagine how insane and wild it's going to be and watching that environment on television. Good luck to your Knicks, and we'll be right back here next Friday. Joel, thank you so much for taking time today.
Anytime. Thank you for having me on.